Welcome to Center Heist Productions. It is November 21st. Uh, yes, anyway, this is a special edition, 3 to 4 part series I'm going to do. I felt it necessary. Just interesting, valid points to see where the Habs are in the rebuild and some crucial areas to talk about. Where we stand right now and what should be done. Okay, first, if you could please hit the likes and subscribes down below in your right hand corner. I muchly appreciate your support in growing this community. Many changes will be coming to this channel in the new year. Yeah, many in the next several months. We're planning on some changes. Anyhow, thank you for my supporters, and we're going to go from here. This is a special, as I said, 4 part series. Now, we're going to start with, because it came out, that we're going to talk about, finally, where are we in the stages of the rebuild? I will try to make a 4 part series. I don't want to make these long tapes. Try to keep them in the 10 to 15 minute range. Anyway, first, we're going to talk about it, and it came out yesterday, Monday. And in the practice that the Habs had after their wonderful display of what was it? Well, how would you state it? Poor play against the Boston Bruins, and they've had it in the last couple of games. So, topics to talk about are accountability, the injection of Struble, goaltending, and prospects to unload in packages, and coaching. These are going to be the main topics that we're going to divulge into. So first, we're going to talk about, like I said, the practice yesterday in Montreal. As the practice, as we got to see on highlights, we're seeing a progression in the rebuild. It's been Mr. Nice Guy, Martin St. Louis, all the way. We finally seen a press conference from him where he was asked several questions, and some clips came in where you could see him call out his players in some of the one-on-one drills because they weren't being done correctly. And he made them do them correctly. Then made them do some skating exercises, which, just to show that, hey, there's accountability for the team not playing. And this was finally a good move in the right direction, because all we've been seeing is inspiring commentation from Martin. And that's great to have, but as the rebuild goes on, this has to change, and we have to grow as an organization. And Marty definitely made it very clear that now we're in a stage where you're going to start seeing a little bit of people being called out, his team being called out. His whole entire team was called out for their lack of effort, with no forecheck, no effort in their forecheck, and basically just no physicality, really just sitting back too much, letting teams come to them, which you just can't do. You have to bring it to them. So Martin had addressed that in his conference. Good to see. He said it exactly. There just was not enough effort in the forecheck. That's got to change. They were soft, and yes, they were very soft. And this has been, an issue of mine for quite some time, long even before Marty. And that was when they had a veteran club. Now that we're in a rebuild, it's a little different. You got to go through the growing pains, I suppose. And good to see, though. Marty said, now, he's starting to show that he's making players accountable for it. We've seen responses from a couple of the leaders of the team, Monahan, Suzuki, and Matheson, and good responses. However, I found it good to see that they all accepted that they didn't play up to par, and that's the first step is admitting where you're weak, admitting your wrongs. So good to see that from three leaders of the team, taking accountability for their own play. Like Monahan, made it clear. So did Matheson, and so did Suzuki. And I'd say, they were all well spoken, and it's now it's to see the change that will be now that they see that Coach Marty, yes, as much as a caring guy as he is, uh, and really tries to support his players, it's and nurture them. Now he's also saying, okay, you've grown a bit. It's time to take up some responsibility for your play. And so good to see him call his players out. In this case, it was pretty much the entire team. Other than we know the goaltending. It's a shame because it's been a case where all three of them have kept them in the games. Really, it's what's been in front of the goaltenders that has to change. We need a consistency. We need some strategies and systems in place that are going to be followed that they cannot just walk away from. It sounds like there's got to be more of a yes, we're gonna if you can continue on with trying to produce goals, that's great, but you got to do it. You got to forecheck to do that. You can't just think the puck's gonna magically come out to you. And so he's addressing it with his team, and that's great. So tomorrow night, come Anaheim time, hopefully we shall see the results of the putting his team accountable and putting some heat on them to make them work a little harder. So that being said, that has finally been addressed. That shows a new position that Marty and the team has in growth in the rebuild are at. So this is good to see. Why I was always wondering. I've had so many talks with uh, very well versed hockey people. We discuss this type of stuff, and it was always we were questioning when's the accountability show up for what's going on out there. So with that being said, that's the first stage. Now the next good news and interesting news we got. It was very clear that something needed to be addressed because the defense was taking a pounding. Now with Harris, he came back for that game. However, he's not 100%. So in his shoes, he's probably the one guy you could excuse a little bit on the defensive corps. However, so he's not wasn't at 100%, and that's probably why this next move was made. And Jaden Struble was called up to the Habs, and what a great move made by the organization. Um, we know that Laval has been struggling desperately, should be better, and it is a concern where they sit right now. This is a team that's got, from what we've heard, supposedly we have these great prospects. It's not looking like so much. It looks like, and I think we got to get to a realistic point where I think a lot of our fans and just accept whatever's thrown at them. They think we got this great superstar bunch of kids. Well, guys, let's get to reality stricken first. We may have four players in our system that make the Montreal Canadiens. I'm talking about on the offense. Now, we know our defense is stacked. So, anyway, our defense has been a little bit banged up with, you could see they're missing Jack desperately, that physical aspect, and they needed it replaced. So, Struble gets rewarded for his great play because he's by far, it hasn't even been close in Laval. He's managed to get some points, which was shocking. We didn't know how much of that he had in his game, but he has shown that he's done quite well in that department for Laval. He's been kind of the bright spot on defense by landslide right now, and that's probably majority and everything gained into. And he's quite quite a polished, beefed up, not a tall fella, but very muscular, uh, solid, sturdy defenseman. So we knew he's gritty. And that's more what he's known for. But now we do see that he can uh, get points as well. So this was much needed for the Habs uh, with Jack Eye out of the lineup. And for me, it wouldn't even be bad. Let's see what he can do. Of course, will he play all three games in the West Coast in the California trip? That's hard to say. Or will he just be introduced in one game or two games? None of us knows that. Only the coaching staff knows that. I honestly think they should just inject him immediately for the whole trip. And he's going on the trip with him, and he was so excited. And he, it's nice to see Montreal doing this. Reward the guys that are earning it down in Laval. And by far, there was no question in my mind. You get people screaming out, well, it should be Mayu, or no, it should not be Mayu. Mayu's got a lot of work to do on his defensive. He's a few steps behind where Struble is. Struble's had an extra year of being in Laval's system, and he's more matured. Let's just say it. He's worked on his game more at that level. So I think he's going to be quite a blessing myself, and it might be something that who knows what comes out of this. Could he become a permanent? Might not be a bad thing. Maybe it just toughens up the defensive core in the sense that maybe you reunite Harris and Struble together where they played together, and this becomes a good factor and a pairing at some point, and maybe this puts the heat on guys like Lindstrom and Barron and says, the soft play can't continue. Like I say, there's been good growth in Barron's game, but he still needs a fire under his tush because he was a lot of mistakes because of the softness against Boston, and not him alone. I mean, we had a veteran do the same. Matheson played the same. So that whole defensive core took quite a pounding. With Gooley playing the best out of them all, and yet even he took a pound. They all kind of wore this, but he was the best spark plug out of the crew. You can't just have one guy being that case. There needs to be other injections in the lineup. And I think Struble could be one of the answers. Maybe this is an addition in the future that people have counted out. Maybe this is the toughness that the Habs need a little more of in that back end. And they need it all the way around. I know he's not big, but he plays big. And he brought a lot of stability to Laval. And maybe this will help them bring some stability to Montreal as well. And, he's going to be a rookie in Montreal for sure. However, as time, a guy can still create some stability. And maybe, when Jack Eye's healthy, maybe it'd kind of be nice to see them both in the lineup with Gooley. And these are your tougher branded players, grittier. Gooley's kind of got everything. He's your number one defenseman of the future. There's no doubt. I think with seeing him and Lane Hudson, those could be your 1 and 2s. But like I say, we have the Rhinebackers and the Mayus to come, but there's a lot to be learned in their game, and where they'll sit. Who knows? They can still make that adjustment. We got a couple of veterans that within 2 to 3 years, maybe you work out as these players come in. So, with that being said, I think this is a great injection. I'm proud of Struble. Let's see what he can do, and I think they do need that grit, especially where Jack Eye's down. And I think this is a great call by St. Louis and Kent Hughes to bring him in. And he's going on the road trip, and I hope they utilize him for the whole thing because we need the grit. We need some of these other defensemen. Like I say, Lindstrom could easily be taken out of the lineup in his placement for Struble to come in. And if I were Barron, I'd be watching it too because you're not that above being sad a game as well. Because both of you, your Barron's game is coming. Don't get me wrong, but he still has to get grittier and more, you know, toughen up back there. And hopefully this will help the unit back there get a little tougher and grittier. And I think he's a perfect combination. So of what they need. So this is pretty exciting, and it was deserving. Trudeau's game has fallen off, and Struble game went to the top of the bunch, and Mayu is way far behind. He's young. He's got a great offensive side of his game, but he's got a horrible defensive side. And he's got to learn that. So let's see what happens. Now we get to the next component. So that's 2 check marks we have made for this tape. Goaltending is your next dilemma, and it is a dilemma. However, we hear the rumors are all over the place in the NHL. There are certain clubs looking for a goaltender and are scouting Montreal's goaltending situation. For that situation, we got to really think, and I'm sure that Hughes and Gordon will do this well. Yes, we know we can probably, valuability wise, Allen is probably worth the most. And yes, they probably would like to get at some point down the road, I don't know when, if it's now or whenever, that contract off the books would also help us. However, we got to be very cautious in this because he has been our best goalie so far. Montembeault's been very close to him, right behind him. Caden Primo has played better, but we get down to, okay, really, who should we be moving out, and should we be doing this soon? I don't think we have anything to rush on. However, I think it'd be nice if it was done and a decision was made. However, I think we're hearing most of the rumors when you listen to all the podcasts and Rumorville and journalists. Most rumors are coming out of Edmonton, and Edmonton's going to have to make a move very soon and decide where they're going for their goaltending help. And it was reported last week that they were in Montreal watching the Canadians' goaltenders. So this could be, and I think that's probably the most probable team that may come knocking on our door. I think we've got an idea that they've already knocked, but they're going to get more desperate, and maybe it's probably a case of Holland didn't want to pay the price for um, the goaltender, and Hughes probably said, "Well, come back to me when you're offering me what we need." Like Hughes is holding the strong card in this, and Holland's got to understand that. But if Edmonton's going to want to make the playoffs, they got to make a move soon. Now, I know a lot of people are saying Edmonton is done. No, Edmonton is not done. With the caliber of players they have, they could dig themselves out of the hole. There's no doubt in my mind when you got Connor McDavid and Draisaitl and Hyman, guys like this, Kane, you can dig yourself out of the hole. You got enough talent in Nugent Hopkins. You've got plenty of talent up front to dig yourself out of the hole. It's just that you got to get on the bandwagon real soon because you're down there in the basement area. So something's going to happen very soon for Edmonton. There's no doubt in my mind. They have to do it, in my books, before the end of December for sure. So this should be coming soon. Do we have to rush? No, I don't think we have to. We're in any position where we have to rush it. It would be nice, yes, if we address it and make a move on it. However, let's be strong. I think what Hughes and Gordon are doing are standing tall and standing strong in the situation. They're in the position of power in this. So let's get the proper payment that we can pull out of the hat, because these teams are needing the goaltender. Montreal's in a rebuild. We're in we could do anything just to hit rock bottom. Doesn't matter to us. It's, yes, accountability is cool and all that, but technically, and, I keep hearing the stages we've turned a corner. I hear this in a couple of podcasts too. And I don't believe we totally have turned it. We might be going into the corner. I think we're a little farther back. That's why we're 3 points behind last year's rate. Uh, that doesn't show a ton of progression. I think yes, we've had injuries to add into this that have made it difficult, but it's not the whole situation. We are in a position where we're still in the rebuild, and we probably need about two more drafts that are. We got to address our offense drastically, and we do need one of the. We need to make up for not taking Mitchkov. We need that star player on offense, and we need to size up. That should be automatically, because if you look at what comes next, our next point is the prospects. We're not as good as we think we are. Yes, we have a lot of guys that are small, undersized. So this is now into the next point. Goaltending, they should make the move. My opinion, they should move, I will say, Primo. That's my opinion, because you still need a veteran for stability in the net. And I still think Allen possesses that to keep Montembeault, because Montembeault is shaky. He's up and down. But so is Allen. But Allen knows how to pull it together better and is a great example. So to me, Primo, yes, Primo has improved. And he's improved enough that he is worthy of a trade. So I can see maybe that's what Montreal's thinking of not putting him on waivers. However, it's got to be addressed at some point. And I think that's the guy who should move on, because I don't believe Primo, in my opinion, is NHL material. As well as he improved in his showings, that's great. But when teams figured him out, he still let soft goals. And once they figured him out, he had a great period or two. And then like Vegas clued in. He's terrible upstairs. I mean, really bad. I mean, it's bad enough that most there's habits that goalies all go down too soon. But at least, in Allen and Montembeault's case, they've got a good glove. But Primo does not have a good glove. His glove is very. You've seen the examples of how Vegas scored on him, and this shows the weakness. And I don't think he's personally, in my opinion, I think he's the guy that you should be letting go. At this point, we've seen enough of him over the last years. Yes, there's improvement, and I commend him. However, I don't think he's going to be. He'd be in a real bad situation if you're focusing on leaning on him to go along with Sam Montembeault, two youngsters. Montembeault, a little experience, but not enough to lead another a rookie like this, who is very fragile. And to me, he's the best case scenario for Primo. He's an AHL goaltender. He's not cut out to be, and he's not a backup. No one can tell me he is, because I'll tell you right now, Sam Montembeault technically is a backup goaltender in the NHL. Yes, he's NHL caliber. Primo is not. So we do have to wait for our goaltender to come in the future, which we're all looking at Fowler, and it probably will be him. But we might have a guy or two in there that jumps in. But we know pretty much Fowler's who we're looking at for our starter down the road. So with that being said, I think, in my opinion, and you can let me know what you think. Come on, make some comments. That's great. I want to hear your opinion. But I thought we had to address this, and just to think, because there's so many rumors and everybody focuses on, let's get rid of Allen. Yes, I say get rid of Allen if the price is right. I don't care which one of the three, but I would prefer it to be Primo, because he's not going to be capable of hanging in with Montembeault. There's no Anderson, but I don't even think he'd be capable of hanging in with Allen, to be honest. I think Allen and Montembeault are a better 1-2 punch while we're going through these growth pains and through this process. So to me, it's clear cut. Primo's the guy you got to move. Let another franchise, which I think another franchise can be willing, now that he's shown that he has improved a little bit now, at least in positioning. He still gets too deep in the net, and he has no glove, and he's not that great with a blocker either. So his upstairs components of the net are very weak. So to me, he's not NHL material. That's the guy you move. Prospect wise, we're going to get into this deeper in more episodes. Habs got to really start thinking about this. We got to start. Yes, we have talent. However, we're so small that we have to realize the majority of our forward group down in Laval and down in the juniors is not going to amount to coming to Montreal. We may have to trade them because we're just far too small already. And in our future drafts, I would recommend that Gordon and Hughes start focusing on sizing up. Yes, get the goal scorer, but start sizing up as well. That front group has to size up, and there's no and ifs and buts about it. Uh, there was one more thing I wanted to. So I'm going to get deeper in on a next video or two into this prospect portion of it. It's going to be, we're going to bear down to exacts of who will be capable of going to Montreal, who, and we don't have a lot. We got to get realistic here. They might be capable, but yet, they're not first line. So we have a lot of prospects that just will never be first or second liners. We have to understand we got a stack of third liners, fourth liners, and this could be good for another squad organization. That's great. So I will get deeper into that in a following taping of this series. Then we talk about uh, coaching. Coaching, I think I've seen this on the discussion on Tony Marinaro's show. This again was something I've discussed again with those certain individuals that are very, very well versed in the hockey world. And we have discussed this repetitiously that we do not believe that this coaching staff is going to be what's going to be needed in the future in Montreal. Now, at saying that, can they get away with this coaching staff for the time being? I think they can. I don't think you have to unload the coaches in the middle of this season, but we know Marty's perfect for the job and doing a great job, but where he's so green and young and new at the coaching area, I think Lithowski seems to be doing an all right job. I think a lot of their contracts become up at the end of this season. To me, now you're kind of at what they marked is almost at the even mark of the rebuilds, the middle, right at the middle of the rebuilds. 3 years basically, you'll be going into your third year, and I think at that point, when the contracts come up at the end of the season, that's the time to make the moves. Do not resign the. That's when you get a veteran coach to assist Marty as an assistant, a good, solid assistant coach that's got experience and is a veteran that can assist Marty. Because at that point, after the season, they're going to need to start. They want to make a run to make the playoffs, to be in that group. They are going to have systems in place and guys that can do that. As much as we knocked Ducharme, this is kind of where Ducharme would have shone as a backup, but it wouldn't have been good for Montreal. He's better off in a place that has better coaching and are further along with a good, solid team like Vegas. That makes sense. So for us, though, we do need to go out. I'd say at the end of the season, do not resign Burroughs, do not resign Robida, and you make your decision on Lithowski. Seems to have been the best help for Marty. So he possibly could stay, or you let him move on too. That's up to Hughes and Gordon. But I think this summer coming is when they have to make that move and bring in some coaches that can teach these kids how to play a system, defensive system with responsibility, and to back up Marty so that Marty is not overworking it and with his inexperience. So that being said, then we're going to have one more topic too, and it's going to be about Josh Anderson. So with that being said, that was one thing I didn't put down there, and I should have, but we're going to talk more about that in the following episode. So thank you for joining me. Those were the points we wanted to make today, and we're going to go deeper into it with prospects and the situation of Josh Anderson and a couple other pieces. All right. Well, thank you for joining me. Where's Puck Drop First here at Center Ice Productions. We will catch you in the next episode after the game tomorrow night against